You are listening to Rooted at West Oak, a podcast for stylists, salon owners, and beauty lovers. From hair color and extensions to business, growth, and real salon life, this is where it all starts. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first official episode of the Rooted at West Oak podcast. I am your host, Daniel Stoffel, and I am very excited to have you listening. I own West Oak Salon here in Canal Winchester, Ohio. If you've never heard of Canal Winchester, Ohio, it is about 15 minutes south of central Columbus, Ohio. And we have been open for a little over 7 years. During that time, I have mentored roughly about 20 stylists through the industry, maybe a few more. I don't know the exact head count. And I also own my very own hair extension line that we have in Salon called West Oak Salon Hair Extensions. And during all of this time, I have 13 years of social media experience. And now we're going to add a podcast to the resume. I feel like this is just a very natural avenue for me to go into. And I am very excited to be able to create a space where I can have not only my fellow stylists that work in my salon with me, but also stylists around me here in Columbus beyond, just to be able to have an open space where we communicate all things beauty. And I'm really looking forward to it. So here we are, and you're probably wondering, like, who are you, Daniel? Like, how did you get here? Why are you doing a podcast? Why do you own a salon? Why are you in the beauty industry? Why do you feel that, this podcast needs to exist? And I'm here to tell you all about who I am and why we're here. So I want to give you a little backstory on who I am and why I'm in the industry. So if I can think back all the way to when I was 17, currently I am 29 years old, a few months shy of 30, which we can talk about in another episode because you guys, 30, are you kidding me? Here I am. I'm super excited for it, but it's like, whoa. When I think back to the very beginning of my career and where I started, it's really wild to think about. I started when I was 17 and just how much audacity I had at the time to be able to think, well, I'm going to go ahead and just start beauty school now because I might as well. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. But, I started at 17. I had two parents who really supported, the creativity and the desire and the love and the passion for the beauty industry. So they, encouraged me to go. So I applied to beauty school when I was 17 and I got in. I was one of, I think, 25 or maybe 30 kids who made the cut. So I was able to start beauty school in 2013. Doing beauty school the way that I had the opportunity to do so was honestly, when I look back at it, maybe a little bit strange, but I think in retrospect now, also really great. So I was also still in high school. So I would go into school in the morning and I would have my cosmetology class for about 4 periods. And then I would have lunch and then I would go to regular high school. That was my junior year. And then in my senior year of high school, it was flipped. So I would go in the morning and I would have my regular everyday school classes. And then I would have my lunch. And then I would finish the day with my cosmetology class. And that is why it took roughly about 2 years to get through school. So here in Ohio, you need 1,500 hours to graduate from beauty school. And in order for me to get those 1,500 hours at that age, I had to go my junior and my senior year of high school, just with how the hours worked. When I sit here and I think back on my experience, honestly, it's quite a blur. And maybe it wasn't at the time, but now through, the lens of the 13 years in the industry that I have, really school is just like a little blimp. I feel like it was, as funny as it sounds, for me at least, it was the least significant part of my career so far. It was really just a means for me to be able to start the industry as early as I could and to get my license. But I know that beauty school is very important. It's a very important step in our process as cosmetologists, hairdressers, nail techs, estheticians, and so on. But when I think back, it is really quite a blur. So in my mind, I feel like it seems fairly insignificant in my journey. But also too, I started so young, so I don't know if my brain at that time really was honing in on how important it was to remember everything that I was doing through school. But I will say it did feel, even back then when maybe my head was not screwed on as tight as it is now, I do remember thinking back then, man, I really wish that my classmates would take this as seriously as I was taking it, because this meant a lot to me that I had the opportunity to be able to start my career so early. But, aside from thinking that, the students around me weren't taking it quite as serious, I do know that my cosmetology school teachers were taking it very serious, because they wanted to make sure that all of their students were prepped and prepared for state board and prepped and prepared for the industry. So I'm very thankful and very appreciative of my cosmetology school teachers. I only had two. There was maybe a few sprinkled in there if there was a substitute for one day or whatever, but I had two main teachers, and I think one thing that I really enjoyed about them is that they could really tell how serious I was taking my schooling and how much it meant to me to have the opportunity to start so early. So they really did, and I don't know if I should say this or not, but I can really, when I think back, one of the things that I do really remember about beauty school is how much they wanted to push and support me in the industry, and how much they really went out of their way to just encourage me through school and honestly the beginning stages of my career. Fast forward to, I've now graduated from cosmetology school. I took my state board exam. I passed. It was really great because I passed on the first try, which was wonderful. I was able to get all of that anxiety just done and over with by the time I was in the summer of my senior year of high school. So I was able to go out and get a job, which was great. It did take me about 2 months or so to finally get my feet into a salon. I was kind of dragging my feet a little bit because I didn't really know exactly what route I wanted to take. I didn't know if I wanted to work like in a big, like branded salon. I didn't know if I wanted to be independent. I didn't know if I wanted to even continue in that route, because at the time I was working in retail and I was finding a little bit of success in that avenue. So I was kind of just taking some time to figure out where I wanted to go and what direction I wanted to take. At the end of the day, I ended up, pivoting into the cosmetology world, and I started working at this really massive, huge, like chain salon that was not necessarily, known for being a super high-end or super great salon, but it was a start for me. I just knew at the time, I hadn't been in a salon environment for about 2 or 3 months at the time, and I was like, I just need to get in the environment. So I kind of just threw myself into it. I was at this salon for maybe all of 2 or 3 months. It was absolutely just not the fit for me, which was okay. I really wasn't expecting that salon to be a really long-term place for me. It was more so just I wasn't in the industry, and I was like, I need to get myself in this industry so that I'm able to just continue in that direction. So after spending some time there, I stopped working in the industry for about a month, and then I got hired on as a commissioned stylist at a salon where I was supposed to be getting some training, and I was supposed to be training underneath the owner of the salon. I'm not going to sit here and bash the salon by any means, because that is just not my style. And honestly, there really isn't much to bash because there really wasn't much time that I spent there. But it felt more like I was getting less training and just doing the work for her at certain points. So I was like, you know what? I just got to collect my things and get out of here while I still can. So then from there, I was feeling a little bit disappointed in the industry. I was kind of like, okay, now 2 salons under my belt that I didn't really make it very far in. And I was like, is this even for me? But I was like, this has to be for me, because like every single time I think about what I want to be doing with my life, it's like I'm in the beauty industry. So I took some time. I really collected my thoughts. I got my stuff together, and I was like, let me just find a salon suite somewhere and let me just put all of my eggs in one basket. At the time, I was still probably 20, maybe 21 years old. So I was like, I'm still young enough to where if I put all my eggs in one basket with this final attempt in the industry, and it works out, then wonderful. And if it doesn't, then maybe I'll go to college. Maybe I'll go into a different trade. I just wasn't sure, but I really just wanted to give it one final shot to see if I could really figure it out. So I opened up a salon suite, literally no clientele, very little experience, not any experience owning any kind of business, barely any experience in the salon industry aside from schooling and maybe about a year total of salon world life. And I was like, I'm just going to get as much education as I can. I'm going to learn as much as I can online and through classes. And so I was like, let's just do this. So I opened up a suite, and I basically was like, I'm going to give it my best try. I worked in a salon suite for about 10 months, and I found enough success to be able to pay all of my bills. I was able to find enough success to enjoy the industry, and that was that. I was like, you know what? I'm finding some success. I'm happy with this. Fast forward to around that same time period, my sister and now co-owner, opened up a salon with two of her friends at the time. And she was like, we really need an additional booth renter, and we would love to have you. Of course, it'd be great to work with family. We'd love to have you in our space. And so before I even finished out my full term and my full lease at the salon suite that I was owning at the time, I had transitioned over to working at her salon as a booth rent stylist. I was a booth rent stylist for, when I look back, maybe about a year, maybe a little less than a year, maybe a little bit more than a year. I can't quite remember. Before I was like, hey, we need to put our brains together, put our heads together, and we need to become partners. So about a year into that, I became part owner of what is now known as West Oak Salon here in Canal Winchester, Ohio. And I have been a salon owner ever since. So I've been a salon owner for about, I guess I would say now 6 years, which is amazing. It is absolutely a dream come true for me. When I look back on my whole entire life, it just makes sense. Every little stepping stone, every little, area and avenue that I took, it was really just to prepare me and lead me to the space where I am today. And I couldn't be any happier with my current position in the beauty industry. I have so many more goals for myself in the future in the beauty industry, but for being 29 years old and being in the position that I'm in today, I'm very proud of myself, and I'm very happy with the success that I've been able to have so far. But, I'm 29 years old, and I have decades left in this industry. So we're going to continue to set goals. We're going to continue to branch out and build more and do more and be more. And I am just so excited. And that kind of leads me to, this podcast. So this is something that is brand new for me. I've never podcasted before. I've listened to podcasts throughout the years, but, I've never actually sat down and been a podcaster myself. It's been something that's been on the back burner for the last several years, and I'm finally committing to doing it, not only myself, but for the industry. And I'm very, very, very excited. With the Rooted at West Oak podcast, I really just want to be able to create a space where we can have real conversations about the beauty industry, talk about pricing, talk about the pros and cons of the industry, talk about products, talk about hair color, extensions, hiring, firing, culture, talk about basically how to scale your business, how to do social media, just really all the different things in our beauty industry. I want to be able to have a space where we can just chit chat and talk about it. I also want to be able to have you guys meet and understand some of the stylists that I have at my salon, but also I would love to be able to create an opportunity for the fellow stylists in my area here in Columbus to be able to come on where we can have open conversation about the industry itself in our region here in the Midwest. I think that would just be super fantastic, really, really cool. And I really just want to be able to create this vibe and this space on this podcast where we all are able to just learn and lean on each other and grow together in the beauty industry. If you've made it this far into this podcast, I am so thankful and so grateful that you're here. I just wanted to be able to have a little introductory episode where I just discuss who I am, what my relevance is, and why I wanted to start this podcast. Like I said earlier, we're going to be discussing some really great topics in the beauty industry with some really great people and some great stylists and leaders in the industry. So go ahead and just stay tuned to see what's going to come up. And thanks so much for listening, you guys.